I swear there hasn't been anything new to this layout since the last time we did an update, right? No, I'm going crazy. Let me double check on that. Yeah, this definitely was here last time. This isn't new, right? This is totally not new. These clouds were here last time. This backdrop isn't new. And these buildings. I swear I just talked about this in the last video. These are definitely not new. Okay, somebody's definitely screwing around with me. I didn't put that there. These lights, this platform, that really cool station, I didn't do that. And when did Jason's OK Trains let me borrow his locomotive? I mean, do you know how rare this thing is? I'm not complaining about that horn, though. Alright. Alright. Clearly, there's a lot that has happened since the last time I've made a layout update. This wasn't here. This is definitely one of the most exciting additions. We have a lot to cover in this video. I am super excited. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the railroad. This is Matt AC Trains here. I'm really excited to showcase to you all the latest additions to the layout. A lot of really cool stuff has been going on over the last 6 or so months, and I think it's finally time that we get right down to it. You guys have been asking for this for so long, and I've been wanting to put this out for a long time, but I really wanted to make sure that there's a lot of exciting things to see. So let's waste no time at all and get right on into the new version of the Merrick Valley Central Railroad. Let's go. So before we jump into the actual new additions to the layout, I do want to take a minute to catch everybody up to speed because it has been a very long time since the last time I made an update video, and just a video in general.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I know. It's definitely something that I wasn't planning on being away for that long. But for all those folks who have been reaching out to me and have been patiently waiting for this video, this is definitely for you, and I really do hope you guys enjoy it. But yeah, so a lot of fun things have been happening in the hobby for me and personally as well. But the layout has been very busy the last few months. I had a whole bunch of visitors over the past couple of months. Most notably, back in February, I had D.A. Griffin as well as Kisco Falls Railroad come visit. And before that, in the fall, in October, I had Sam's O-Gauge Trains here and RJ's Trains. And even before that, in the summer, I got a chance to host a whole heap of friends from all around the hobby and all around the country here. And it was just a really humbling experience to be on the opposite end of having an open house versus all the layouts I visited the last couple of years. So it was really exciting to return the favor to a bunch of those folks. I had to have Bill B from the Omanes Railway all the way out from Missouri to come out here and see my layout, and Steve's layout as well. It was a really fun time. I had Tony from the Rambles YouTube channel here. I had Automus and a couple other friends from Chicago here. Sid from Sid's Trains was here. Retro Mikado was here. And it was just a whole blast, a whole heap of fun. And it's something that myself and Steve look forward to doing every single summer. It's definitely something that's on our calendars for all the people visiting. It's just such a great time. And it was really fun to have a bunch of visiting trains on the layout. And it was just a really fun time. During that said open house, my friend Tony gifted me this, which was totally unexpected and definitely unnecessary. But Tony, if you are watching this video, thanks so much, buddy. This is a beautiful little engine. This is a K-Line Plymouth switcher. This is in the Central Railroad of New Jersey paint scheme. As you guys know, C&J has kind of won my heart over the last couple of months, and this is definitely something I did not know K-Line actually produced. I have a Strasburg Railroad version of this model, but I did not know that Jersey Central was produced, so this is really cool. You'll definitely see this in the yard in future videos, and stick around on the channel because I do plan to get this upgraded at some point. But yeah, also I was at the York Train Show, and don't worry, a lot of really cool new additions have been added to the collection, and I really can't wait to showcase all those to you in the near future for a future video. And it was really fun to meet a whole bunch of new friends that I haven't seen in the hobby just yet up until this show. I got a chance to meet Caleb Easter from the Caleb Easter YouTube channel. I got to see Trains of Lark, he was there. And I also got to meet the 3 Rails 4 Dads podcast. So I got a chance to see Arts Model Trains, Del Hudson, Ray's Trains, and of course the Secondhand Overland. Getting to meet all those guys was a real blast. They are awesome folks. Their podcast is great. I'll put a link to their videos and their channels and the podcast in the description of the video. And it was really cool to see them also at the Trains.com partner photo op that we did. That was definitely one of the highlights of the show. All of us content creators got together for this big photo op that Larkin threw together. So that was a really awesome thing, Larkin, and definitely something I hope we can do for future Yorks. That was definitely a blast getting to talk with Scott and the rest of the Trains.com team. They're absolutely awesome. But yeah, so that's kind of what's been going on lately here. So I just wanted to take a minute to get you guys all up to speed. But now, without further ado, let's get on with the layout. All right, so let's get the elephant out of the room because this is pretty unavoidable to not discuss. This is definitely the most drastic change to the layout since the last time we went over some things. So if you guys remember, my layout isn't directly up against the wall. So I have a window right behind me, and I need access to that in the event of an emergency or if I just want to air out the room. So to do that, there is a small gap that allows me to get behind the physical table. So to combat the idea of not being able to have backdrops, I decided that I wanted to build some backdrop walls that I attached to the physical table. So if you guys remember, in the last time we had a layout update, the original backdrop walls were 2 foot high. But I quickly realized after some friends pointed it out to me that that was just way too short in the event I'm taking some photos or some videos and want to add some depth to the foreground. So to combat that, I added an additional 10 inches high to make this a 34-inch wall, which gives me plenty of room, enough of a gap to where it's not fully going to the ceiling and still gives me access to the back if I have to get to the window. But doing that, I think this really was a great idea in the long run, and the actual backdrop itself I think is fantastic. So some of you guys have asked me over the last few months in the comments and in my community tab, who makes this? So this was made by trainjunkies.com. I'll put a link to their website in the description of the video if you guys are interested in checking out their products. They make backdrops for any size layout as well as any scale that you need. So if you're an HO scaler, they do make dimensions for backdrops for that scale as well as O gauge. So this was a completely custom dimensions I gave them. So this was 34 inches, as we said, high, and lengthwise is about 196 inches. So pretty long, and this just really drastically changes the layout, as I said before. So what we have here is an image of the Adirondack Mountains. So this is upstate New York, Lake George area. This is probably one of my favorite areas in the entire state and in the country. It's a beautiful mountain range. I visit up there and camp up there with my family a bunch during the summertime, and it's just such a really beautiful image. It's super crisp and clear. You can see all the fidelity. You can see the whole background, and like I said, it really drastically changed the overall look of the layout. So if you guys remember, the whole concept that I'm going for is to have a town that's nestled up in the mountains. And as you see in some of these panning shots, I really do think that these backdrops were able to create that effect, and I'm super happy with it. But yeah, so this is something that I really recommend if you guys are looking to elevate your railroad. Backdrops really do make a huge difference for both when you're filming and just running trains and taking pictures of trains, whichever have you. But it really does make that the layout looks bigger than it actually is, and I'm super happy with how this turned out. Alright, so sticking with this side of the layout, I want to also point out and talk about something else that's really hard to avoid, and that is this. So this is my farm scene. Now this is something I wanted to have on the layout for a little while now. It's definitely taken up quite a lot of conversation when people talk about my layout, both on Instagram as well as just within the community. And I think a lot of people have a good reason for that, because I'm pretty happy with this scene. I do want to say it's not complete, but the raw overall finished area, I would say, is just about done. I was able to really get the formation that I wanted to do. I still would like to add some more rock formations and so forth, but I am very happy with the overall appearance of this so far. I did want to make this scene for the sake of this corner. I didn't have a whole lot of room to add too many large buildings that are pretty wide. So in order to combat that, I figured, why not try getting out of my comfort zone and trying building an entire scene from scratch? And this was a great test for that. So the way I built this scene was a mix of using the pink foam that you would get from Home Depot. They sell these smaller square sheets that you can use. So I got 3 sheets of those, and I just cut it along with the curve of the outside loop. As you guys know, this is an 072. So in order to run my bigger equipment, such as articulated steam engines, if I ever get any, or really large pieces of rolling stock or passenger cars that require the actual amount of wiggle room here as far as the radius, that when they come through the turn here, that nothing would get damaged and everything would run smoothly through here. So what I had to do was I took this little tool, which I do recommend if you guys are working with any kind of installation foam. This is a little heat coil that you can use. You can get this from Michael's or Hobby Lobby. Super inexpensive. It's only about 20 bucks. But as you can see here, there's the coil right there. This heats up instantaneously, and it really does cut through the foam like butter. I can't recommend this tool enough. It's a very safe alternative unless you want to use some of the more sharper hobby knives or razor edge blades, that kind of thing. But this works very well. I do recommend using a mask because the emissions that the pink foam comes out with is not okay to breathe. So keep that in mind when you're working with the stuff. But yeah, once I got the initial proper curve for the outside loop here, then I went ahead and repeated the same cut 2 more times, and then after that I used Sculpt-A-Mold, which I've never really used before. It's a paper-like material, and I'll put on screen some of the progress of the actual build of the scene here, and it was very easy to work with. Sculpt-A-Mold takes a lot longer to dry, so it's a little goopier, and it allows you to create some cool rock formations, which is what I did here. You'll see some of the lips that come off of the main property and kind of go down towards the track. I was able to create stuff like that. You can do that with plaster, but it's a lot messier, and sometimes it doesn't come out and dry the way you want it to. So I was able to kind of mess with that. It's kind of like a Play-Doh in a small, weird way, but it works very well. I definitely recommend it. It's a little expensive, but it's definitely something that can save you a lot of time and a lot of headache and mess for sure. But once I got that all figured out, I went on to the right side, and you'll see that there's this little ramp that goes down to the grade crossing. You'll see that we have a Bachmann Plasticville kit. So this is the old covered bridge kit that they've had for several years. I went ahead and sliced it in half because I wanted it to come out of the backdrop. And this really does give the illusion that people are coming to or from somewhere, heading in or out of the town, and I really wanted to capture that. We have a Woodland Scenic light pole that looks really cool during nighttime shots. And then we have a small additional little section that I cut out with the foam. Again, I repeated the same process. I just layered it out until I got it to the right elevation that I wanted to. And then I added some more of the Woodland Scenic's rock molds across the rest of the scene and used the Sculpt-A-Mold to create some of the lips. And then I just used Woodland Scenic's ground cover. I used a whole bunch of different greens. And so far, I'm very happy with the overall look and appearance of this. You'll also see that I was able to create some corn crop rows, and I definitely recommend you guys give this a shot. So if you have any cardboard strips lying around, if you tear underneath, you actually get the ribbing of that supports the actual piece of the material, and it does actually give the full illusion of a fully finished plowed corn row. And I definitely think this is the most inexpensive way if you're looking to add a scene like this, and it works great. Once you paint it and clear coat it, it just looks great. It definitely gives the illusion, and I love how it turned out. You also see towards the bottom of the track, we have this Woodland Scenic's fence that I added, as well as a dirt road. Now, I recommend maybe try using something a little more traditional. I did something completely out of the water. Now, don't laugh. I use coffee grinds.
You know, people who don't drink Wilkins coffee just blow up sometimes.
Oh, that's a lot of...
See what I mean?
Yes, I know, probably one of my favorite things to have in the morning. And I will say, when I did work with this material, it did smell like a nice coffee shop for a couple of days down here. Now, to whoever you might be, you're either going to love that smell or hate that smell, but it does give the appearance of a freshly paved type of topsoil, and I put that across some other parts of the layout, but it really turned out great, and I'm very happy with the overall look. You'll also notice the barns. So this is a building flat that was made by my friend PGH Train Fanatic. He has PDF Designs. I'll put a link to his business in the description of the video. His business is also on Instagram. These are absolutely fantastic. I have another building that just from him as well that we'll see later on in the video. But the whole scene's really come together. I love the fact that I was able to create an elevation to the layout, because there's a lot of farms in upstate New York that look just like this, and I wanted to incorporate that since we are in a mountain range, so it kind of gives me the reason to not have the layout fully flat. East Coast is hit or miss. Some parts of the country are fully flat, others are very hilly and mountainous, so I'm glad with my theme I was able to create something like this, and it really wasn't all that expensive, and ended up being a lot of fun to make, and I'm very happy with the progress. You can also see we have the roadways. We have, when you're going over the grade crossing, we have these wood pieces that have these planked finish, and it really came out great. I definitely recommend you get these. They are on Amazon. They're on eBay. You can get these inexpensive. They make them for Fast Track as well as Guardrays or Atlas. Super awesome to use. And yeah, that's kind of going to wrap it up for this part of the scene. I'm very happy with the overall progress. Like I said, I have some small little things I'd like to add, like a tractor, maybe some farm animal life and so forth. But overall, very happy with it. But anyways, let's move on to the rest of the layout. So switching gears from the larger additions to the layout to something a little smaller but still very significant is the new addition of the track ballast as well as some early ground cover. So you see we have some of the main lines complete. Now I will say that it is not fully done yet. I still have to finish the remainder of the front of the table here. So you can see that the back stretch of the layout is not complete just yet. And up to this curve right here, I'm still working. I got to go on to the inside of the ties, but the overall appearance I am very happy with so far. So the basic method that I used was 2 different colors for Woodland Scenics. I used their medium ballast as well as their medium cinders. I put them in a little Dixie cup just like this, and all I did was do a mix, and when I was ready I put it directly on the center of the rails here as well as the sides, and then just spreading everything out nice and even with a flat tip brush like this. And I recommend you guys use that, because when you do that, when you're on the outside here, you can push the bristle to this way and then lightly tap down onto the sides of the ballast and sides of the track, because that will give you this finish of the track being raised, which is very prototypical to the real thing, and it gives us great appearance. And I really do like this blend. You can use other options out there. Brennan's Better Ballast is definitely a great option as well, but for the most part I'm very happy with this. Still got a lot more to do, but as we turn to the outside of the track, you can see the ground cover. So this is a mix of Woodland Scenics, JTT, just a whole bunch of different colors. Some of their light greens, their dark greens. As you guys know, the layout's theme is mostly taking place during the early to late summer, so a lot more vibrant colors going on. You can see some of these tufts that I got with some flowers on them, and you can see some patches of dirt. You can see just some of these bushes I added, these lighter greens and darker greens, and this is just really starting to come together. So I still got a lot more texture I want to add in the near future, but so far I'm very satisfied with the overall look. I'm going to be adding a lot more to the front here as well. I don't know if I'm going to do trees, because that is a little tricky to do with clearance of rolling stock, but so far I'm very happy with the overall look. Now you can't just have a railroad and not have a passenger station. So I'm very happy to say that I can check that off the list of things I wanted to add to the layout. This is definitely one of those Instagram-y kind of scenes, as we were talking about with the farm scene before, but I'm very happy with how this little junction turned out. It's definitely still a work in progress. We're missing a lot of passengers, which is not a good thing from a financial standpoint, but hey, you know, so it's still the upcomings of this railroad, but a lot of fun details I'm going to add for sure in the near future. But this was a very fun process for me because it was a challenge in the sense that I'm not really the best at building model kits. So this is a very old Atlas plastic kit. You can still find these. A lot of hobby shops, you can see these floating around. Very, very inexpensive. I got this, I think, on eBay for no more than like 40 bucks. But it's a really solid little kit, and it really gave me a chance to relearn how to build kits like this and be more comfortable with the idea of maybe building something on your own than just having something ready to go out of the box, which is a great luxury. There's nothing wrong with the idea. In fact, in some cases, there's certain buildings I'd like to have that I'd rather just have out of a box and plop and not have to build for a month or so. But this definitely was a lot of fun. This was my winter project. And it was definitely something to get used to, having to learn how to put the plastic inserts for the window glass and then figuring out how to properly mask off and paint this to the way I want it. It doesn't have a name or anything just yet, but I'm sure it will come to me at some point. But we can see that there's a lot going on here. So I actually wanted to extend this platform than what the base structure comes with. So you'll see that on these shots here that I actually did use this PVC foam material that my friend Johnny recommended in one of his older videos. And this stuff really truly works great. Super easy to cut, very on-time consuming at all. It was very easy to work with. You'll see on both ends of the platform that I had to figure out how to cut this to match my already ballasted track. So that was a bit of a challenge, and it was also worth trying to figure out how to make this level with the actual track. So I had to get it up to the grade, and I had to really be careful with my measurements. But after a little trial and error, and you'll see in a bunch of the pictures of how I built this, I think it turned it up very, very well. Then I drilled a couple holes for the Woodland Scenics lights that you see on the platform. These are these great old-time, like 19th century type of lights, and they fit the theme of my layout very well. These were very easy to install. I used the Woodland Scenics plug-and-play system, and it was very simple, and it ended up turning out great. I still would like to add lights to the underside of the awning of the extension of the platform, as well as a light inside the actual station building itself, but that's going to come in due time. And you'll see I have some passenger figures that are running to catch their train. I have these little hedges that were from JTT. These are really great. And I also, on the very back, I challenged myself to scratch build an additional platform steps going up to the actual main platform. So that was a lot of fun, but overall this turned out very well. I'm very excited for how this looks. You'll also take note that you'll see some little switch machines that are not present because I'm not using automatic switches on my crossover. If you guys remember in the last layout update, this was a completely manual throw by myself, and it still is manual, although I am using Caboose industry throws. This gives a super realistic look to the layout and the overall track. You don't have these big boxy things that are sticking out, preventing you from doing scenery. You could buy the motors that let you mount underneath the table, but I really do like the realistic appearance of these. They're very easy to install and throw the switches, and it just gives a very satisfying look and to the overall operation. But yeah, guys, this is very much still a work in progress. I got to work on the water tower and adding some ground cover and stuff, but so far I am very satisfied with this little junction. But anyway, let's see where the train takes us next. So now as we come off the platform from the station, I think it's time we talk about the center of the table, because I've done a lot of work in here too. I know it doesn't really look like I haven't done too much work. It's still very much a bare plywood table, and it's still just a lot of mapping things out. But one thing's for certain, I think I'm pretty happy with how Main Street's starting to pan out. You can see that I have a pretty solid area for a lot of detail, as well as just a good footprint, given that the size of the table, as you see, I don't want to overdo and add too many buildings and make it be too cluttered at the same time. So I think I have a good balance here with sizes of buildings. I might consider adding one additional building at a later point, but I'm not sure just yet. I haven't purchased that building yet. I got to look up measurements and see if it even would make any sense. But for right now, I'm pretty happy. So what do we got going on in the center here? So you can see a big change. We now have this freight siding that was connecting to my inside main line. We'll get to that in just a minute. But yeah, we'll talk about these first. I have 3 new buildings I got since the last time I showed the actual progress in this part of this little layout. The third building is behind this one here. So this is made by Menards. This is this really pretty J.R. Watkins building. I had no idea that Menards actually produced this building. This was made several years back, and it just kind of flew under the radar. Nobody's really talking about this one, and I think it might just because it's a very realistic type of building versus some of the other stuff that they have made in past. But hey, you snooze, you lose, I guess, as they say. But it's a really fun building. I'm very happy I have it. A friend of mine sold it to me recently. And to my surprise, this is actually an old kit that was made by Bar Mills, of all people. They actually made one of their existing kits that you can buy right now. And they just made a whole bunch of these and painted and detailed them for Menards. And I am very happy with it. It's not lit up right now, but there's full LEDs as you expect from them. There's some beautiful detail. I'll put some pictures up on screen because you can't really see behind some of these other buildings I have, but there's some wall art and advertisements around it. It's just really, really sharp. The whole kit is actually made out of wood. There's very little plastic on it. The only plastic's probably this awning that you see right here with these guys chatting and stuff. Just really, really sharp. I really like the overall charm of this. It's something completely different than some of the other stuff that they have. And speaking of another building, we have this. This is the paint store from Woodland Scenics. I really like the look of this. This thing is just very jam-packed with detail, as you expect. From Woodland Scenics, you have a bunch of the roof vents and chimneys and stuff like that. You have what's very cool, these little lions that are on either side of the building, as well as the build date, so 1920 there. That's very cool and very fitting. These two buildings just really tie in to the 20s and 30s building style that I'm going for. So safe to say I'm very excited. And directly underneath them, you can see we have the start of my sidewalks and roadways. So both were made by this foam material that you can get at Michael's and Hobby Lobby. Very inexpensive. I think I got 5 or 6 of these sheets. They're not here right now, but I have black ones. I got this gray one just to roughly test how this material is. I've never worked with this stuff before, but I got a bunch of these sheets for maybe no more than 15 bucks. I think they sell them at like $1.99 a sheet for both thicknesses. You can see if I come in here, it's a perfect height. It's not fastened down yet or anything, but you can see, bring this little car around, you can see that just roughly that it is a very good, believable height for figures and the tires of the vehicles. I really like the overall look of this, and I used a paint from Michael's as well. So we have this paint here. This is a craft tan paint that you can buy from them, 99-cent, $2 bottle. It's really nice look for the overall concrete appearance I'm going for. I'm going to eventually cut some slabs with my X-Acto knife so I can do the actual finish of sectioned off pieces of concrete here and eventually weather and add the figures and stuff. But it's a good benchmark so far. I'm very excited about it. And continuing on, directly behind that, we come to our freight siding that you see here. So if you guys remember the original track plan, this was something I really wanted to have. Whether I wanted to have an engine parked here or mostly take cars out of the yard and into the town here. So what this is eventually going to be turned into is what's called a public delivery track. Let me explain a little more on that. So all a public delivery track is essentially is a track that goes directly through an existing town. These are things that you can see all across the United States. In some cases, you have short lines or main freight lines like CSX or Norfolk Southern actually have their tracks go physically through a town, and sometimes an entire freight train goes through. But in this case, I am modeling what is called a delivery track. So in the near future, I'm going to have some freight service platforms and buildings on either side of the track, and I'm going to have that foam that I just showed before go over the ties of the track, and eventually this will just be one whole concrete area, and it would really give the appearance that the actual town is getting serviced by the railroad for various materials or other forms of cargo that are going to get dropped off in this town. So I really like the look of this. This is really fun. The whole track is powered, so it is one large flex track that I acquired from trains.com, and it was just a lot of fun to add this. I've been wanting this for quite a long time and add some extra play value to the layout when I want to bring trains from the yard and into the town here or through the main line. So it's very busy operation when I want to move these cars in and out of here. And continuing along with some other stuff, there's going to be more buildings that are going to get added, obviously. There's going to be a whole second main street that's going to come along this back end that you see here. I'm still working around the logistics of that. I might have to partially cover up the access panel that you see there at some point, but for right now I'm very happy with it. So still a lot to consider in building sizes and stuff like that. Also, we have this little marking that you see here. So what's going to happen is the road is going to make a very sharp turn this way, going around towards the other side of the town there, kind of like it is swooshing in from the crossing over there. But I have this little town park scene that I'm working on. So I'm not really sure exactly how the size is going to go. I'm going to extend the sidewalk out this way, so realistically it's going to go more this way. But I'm going to have this gazebo that I got 3D printed from Shapeways, this Lionel clock. I'm going to add some trees and flowers and figures, stone pathways. This is going to be really cool when it's all done. And lastly, here in the town, we have these that you saw earlier when I was talking about the farm scene. These are 2 wood kits that I recently completed. The one on the right is made by Bar Mills. This is a laser cut wood kit, as well as the shanty tower here. This is made by a company called Better Than Scratch. But we have these 2 buildings that were a lot of fun to build. I'll put on screen some of the build process for both of them. I highly encourage you guys to give these a shot if you're looking to go a little more into advanced kits than plastic kits, as we were discussing with the station earlier. These were very easy to set up, just took a lot of time to figure out where the parts all go. And I actually did furnish and actually added an LED inside the shanty here. A little hard to see because I did weather the actual glass. But there is a figure in there, and there is an actual office desk in there. And this just adds a lot of character to the actual scene. I really think these are a lot of fun if you're looking to get started on more serious kits. Definitely really nice pieces here. But yeah, guys. Now, without a doubt, the most exciting new addition to the layout has got to be the yard. This is something I have been wanting to have on the layout for a very long time. I wanted to have this built last year, but unfortunately, track can just be pretty expensive, especially switches in O gauge. So it kind of was a roadblock for me for a little while. But I can safely say, as of today, the entirety of the track plan for the layout is now complete. I am super pumped and super excited how the yard has come together in such a short time. As you can see, it's already very jam-packed and very busy, as a yard is supposed to be. We got engines all over the place, and we have a lot of freight cars, but the actual overall track plan is very awesome. It is a 4-foot long extension of the main table, as I mentioned to you guys in previous videos, and this gives me plenty of wiggle room to fit just about anything in here, and quite a lot of it. Now, it's not done. I still have to do a lot of scenery over here, and I'm still in the planning stages of the overall rough area that I want to do. You'll see that we have a yard office off to the right, and you'll see that we have some miscellaneous ties and other stuff. I'm just kind of messing around. I do want to add a switch tower here, and at some point I would like to add another kind of office industrial building in addition to some other things to bring this yard more to life. I still got to ballast the track and add some weeds and bushes and all that other fun stuff. Now, how did I actually come about completing this? I got to give a shout out to my friends over at trains.com. Trains is your go-to #1 site for all used and new model train products. They sell just about everything from O scale down to Z scale. You name a locomotive or freight car or accessory that you're looking for, Trains is your go-to. They have everything you can imagine under the sun. I've been working with them for a long time, as you guys know. They are great. They're the reason I actually got this yard finished. They sell a whole bunch of Gargraves Flex Track individual pieces. If you try buying the pieces separately, it's very hard. Half the time people want to sell the track in bulk, but I was able to get 2 full sections that were able to complete both my freight siding that you saw on the main table and the 2 tracks that lead into the yard here. So if you guys want to use my promo code at the end of this video, or whenever, use my promo code at checkout, Matty C Trains. You'll get $10 off your next order over $50 or more. It's a one-time use code, but it helps the channel grow and keeps allowing me to make content. So be sure to check them out at the end of the video. I'll put a link with my affiliate link in the description of the video. That's trains.com, trains with a Z. Now, continuing on, we do have some specs for the actual yard itself. So as I said, that there are 2 flex pieces of track that lead into the yard, and this also creates a Y. Now, the original track plan was going to have a 3-way or a 4-way yard switch that gets right connected to a Y switch, but unfortunately I just didn't have enough of the real estate that I wasn't anticipating. So in order to combat that, I had to refigure out the track plan to get into the yard. So now we have a Ross Custom Switches 3-way switch that leads off to 3 main switches, and then you have 2 072s on the 3rd track that crosses over to a 4th track. And this allows me to turn engines around without having the ability of a turntable. Let me elaborate and explain that a little more. Now, when it came to redesigning the layout, I had to take into consideration I wanted this layout to be taking up as minimal space as I possibly could. So the idea of having a big turntable where this refrigerator is or something like that was just out of the question. So to combat that, you'll see that I kept this part of the layout very narrow, but I do have, as you see here, where the track work gets very busy, we have a makeshift Y section, which allows me to have engines get flipped around without the access or ability of a turntable. So you'll see we have this 3-way Ross Custom Switches 3-way switch, and we have, as it goes past the yard office, we come up to this second building flat that was made again by PDF Designs. Nick did an awesome job on this. Definitely one of my favorites, as you can see here when you go to track level. Just a very big building, creating a great illusion there. But you can see we have an 072 switch on the outside loop there, comes around this way, and we get met up with the other 072, which allows us to go through this huge piece of flex, as I was discussing earlier, that goes to where this Erie built is. You have 2 072 switches here that allow me to cross over to go back into other points of the yard. But this allows me, without having a turntable, I can have engines go tender first or smoke box first or pilot first. So that Niagara can come out this way, back around and into the yard the opposite direction down to the reefers or through other points of the yard. I'll demonstrate this towards the end of the video, but I'm very happy how this works and functions. This definitely comes in handy if I don't feel like taking trains physically off the table. Now, the way that this yard is actually powered, we got to go back to the very front of the table, where you'll see some of the brand new fascia work that I did across the entirety of the front of the layout. I really encourage doing fascia. It really does give that complete finished professional kind of look to your table. I think it looks fantastic, but the main point I want to bring up is how that the yard gets powered, and you'll see a whole bunch of toggle switches at the front of the table, as well as some of the switch machine activators that are on the front, and this allows me to access the switches that are too further into the table for me to reach. And they definitely come in handy, and all 4 of the tracks here in the yard are on blocks, so when I do turn on the transformer, none of the engines in here get power unless I choose to turn on any of the blocks. Definitely comes in handy. It definitely saves you a lot of trouble. It was a lot of wiring, and I do have to thank my friend Steve K. He helped me out quite a bit with the electrical for this. This was definitely not easy. This was definitely a lot of trial and error. It was definitely quite a challenge, but it worked out perfectly in the end. Everything runs through here nice and smoothly, and this is just such a fun, exciting new addition. I love doing switching and just moving trains in and out of the sidings. I think it's a lot of fun. Adds a little extra play value to the layout and just running trains in circles. But it's been very, very exciting nonetheless. I'm very happy with this new addition. But with that, I think we're going to wrap things up and start running some trains. So I think that's going to finally wrap everything up. I really hope that this lived up to the excitement that has been surrounding this video. Again, I do apologize. It's taken me a long time to get this one out. And this was quite a long one. So for those who stuck around to the very end of this video, thank you so much. It means a great deal to me. And I appreciate all the support that everybody's been giving me over the past couple years. It means a lot. But yeah, so a lot of exciting new additions. The layout's better than ever. I'm having a lot of fun running trains down here. And I can't wait to get more videos pumped out for you guys in the next couple of weeks here. I have a lot of awesome stuff lined up, and I can't wait for you guys to all see it. But that being said, we're going to wrap things up here. I'm going to stop talking, and we're going to just run some trains. And I really do hope you guys stick around for some stuff I got coming up on the channel here real soon. That being said, I really want to know what you guys think about the new additions. Leave some comments. Let's get the conversation going. I really hope you guys appreciate all the new stuff, and maybe you guys have some recommendations for some other things I can work on in the near future. That being said, I'm Matty C. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.